hesitation when I come forward. I won't let you go. When she telling me to come forward, to come for me. That's what she telling me to come forward. No hesitation when I come forward. I won't let her go, yeah, yeah, yeah. Where is she? She's telling me to come forward, come for me. See, I don't know why finally now I just spoke my mind. I know it's long since we spoke sometime, but this thing no play, I go change your mind. Just give me some time, really, please. Cause I don't have no time to waste. No more back and forth, just like Aaliyah. That's all I wanna do right now is grab it up. So you know me gonna grab it up. Body to body, make a bend up on that reeling. Bad man, turn you over like a steering. Well, when me gonna grab it up? So you know me gonna grab it up. Body to body, make a bend up on that reeling. Bad man, turn you over like a steering. Well, telling me to come forward, come for me. That's what she telling me to come for me. No hesitation when I come forward. I won't let you go. When she telling me to come forward, to come for me. That's what she telling me to come forward. No hesitation when I come forward. I won't let her go, yeah, yeah, yeah. Where is she? Where is she? She's telling me to come forward, come for me.
That's killed it.
You made the decision to play Thiago. But Klopp doesn't change the system. Since move back left, you don't want to change from the 4-3-3.
Good afternoon, lovely people. Welcome back again on the Jerry James Show for another preview. And this time we've got Nottingham Forest. We're hosting the Knots up at Anfield. And before we get into it, I just wanted to give a massive welcome to Dave, who's joining us today. Massive Nottingham Forest fan. He's literally recently, I wasn't aware, but he's actually become famous, being caught on camera by Sky Sports, celebrating up in the stand. So before I get into the comments, big up to everyone. Make sure we're smashing the like. Make sure we're commenting, liking, sharing. Mum, auntie, uncle. Make sure we're sharing with whoever. Welcome, Dave. Debut on the show. So happy to have you, Nottingham Forest fan. How you feeling?
Yeah, do you know what, JJ Rams? I'm feeling utterly fantastic, and I'll tell you for why. I had I might not have got to the gym this morning like I've done the last 4 days, but I had a blood pressure check. Right, did the old day's shopping for him. Had a blood pressure check, and I went in the shop because the pharmacist who does the blood pressure check, I know, is a Liverpool fan, right? So he laughed when I went in, and he went, "Oh, you've come to like remind me of that 1-0 at the City Ground." I said, no, it's different now. We've gone from that. He took my blood pressure and it was 130/76. And I said, how's that looking? He said, mate, it's absolutely perfect. And he added, he said, it's that good. You ought to take your boots with you tomorrow to Anfield because Steve Cooper might put you in the side or Kloppy might try and transfer you in. So, no, I feel fantastic physically. I'm obviously really looking forward to going to one of the great stadiums in the world tomorrow. It's going to be fantastic to go. I went to Anfield back in the 90s and actually stood on the Kop because I had a friend who was at university with, and he was a Luton Town supporter. And somehow we managed to get on the Kop that night, and it was Liverpool 0, Luton 0. And Liverpool was shooting in. It went to extra time before eventually they went back for the next game at Kenilworth Road on the plastic pitch as it was back in the days, probably before you two were born, actually. And Luton beat Liverpool 3-0. So, you know, I'm hoping I can be as much of a jinx on Liverpool tomorrow as I was back in the day. But no, I mean, really looking forward to the experience of being at Liverpool. Whether I'm looking forward to what might happen to Forest, we'll discuss.
There we go. Ram. Big up to yourself. How you doing, my boy?
I'm good today. Tomorrow, I don't know how I'm gonna feel because it's gonna be a lose-lose situation for me. If we win, it'll be great, but I also fear for my life because my dad's a Forest fan. So it might be a situation where JJ, I might have to call you up, being like, "Yo, bro, this might be the end." You know those kind of things. But if we lose, it's bad for our club, but I don't die. So it's one of them. One.
Does it? Can I just ask a question, Rams? You know, your name is Rams, and he's a Forest supporter. What does he think of your name? Because obviously, Forest don't like the Rams, Derby County. You know what I mean?
He just liked the name and completely forgot it was had to do with Derby, but it is what it is. I have to live with it.
There we go. I'm just going to get into some of the people in the live chat already. Make sure we're smashing a like upon entry. Don't want to have to go and get RJ. So for Dave, who doesn't know, RJ is one of the honorary members of the show, and he comes in and he acts like the bouncer on the channel. So if anyone's not liking it, he's making sure they're running up the likes. So we've got Aman Singh in the building. Big up to your saying if this game goes by the pattern of next season, it's a guarantee L. If we win a big game, so score loads of goals, we always lose the next game. We do. But we're gonna have to get into it. Big up to Devils United as well. It was a complete capitulation last night, so hopefully you're recovering well. Maybe you're looking for some tears on this channel as well, but big up to yourself. We've got RJ in the building, and as I said, Dave, he's up here making sure he's pushing the channel, like and subscribe. We've got Ben in the building, big up to yourself. We've got Door on tour saying, man like Dave.
That's my boss, that lads. He's my boss, that fella.
Big up to Door on tour. We got Anfield Road End in the building, also saying, in the words of Ice Cube, yay. Big up to yourself. We got Red Mo Khalif, Honesty. We got Chelsea supporter with a City emblem, and I'm always confused. by that. So I don't know what it is, but big up to yourself as well. Look, before we get into the game, a lot of us obviously watch Nottingham Forest from afar. Look how their season's gone in terms of, maybe watch a couple of clips from Match of the Day, looking at the Premier League table and seeing, what, the season's not been that great. However, you guys did beat us up at your ground.
Yeah.
Give us a quick summary of how Nottingham Forest's first season has been back in the Premier League. Well,
from a point of view of supporter, going to games and being able to go to all these great stadiums again, it has been fantastic. I'm 59, lads, so I'm knocking on a bit. I'm like an OAP when it comes to this YouTubing lark. So we've waited, and the Forest family have waited a long time, 23 years. And we've had to put up with a hell of a lot of mediocrity and disappointment and could have beens and should have beens and might have beens that never became a reality. So it's been a long, long wait. So from that point of view, to be in against the likes of yourselves and City, United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, Newcastle, all these, your Brightons and your Brentfords and Villas, who I think are fantastic teams, your Fulhams, all these other 19 teams, to be in the top echelon again is fantastic. And I think our progress, I don't often go on channels big in Forest up, because I like to be realistic and reasoned about where we are in the scheme of things. But if you think that at the start of last season, the start of the championship season, after 8 or 9 games, we were rock bottom. So if somebody said to me back in September of last year, I think it might be September the 15th or something, we played Middlesbrough at home and we lost 2-0 and we were appalling, truly appalling. If somebody said that night that, Steve Cooper would come in and you would be playing Liverpool at Anfield, 20 months nearly later on, I'd have said, don't be silly. So that is my context for everything. And, I think we've made more progress in a compressed period of time than any football club in this country, from the bottom of the championship to being in the Premier League. There was a great comment by one of our local commentators on local radio last year who remarked about Forest's season last year as being almost 5 years of progress in 9 months. And I can completely go with that view. And I think there was always going to be a leveling off. And the levelling off has come in this best league in the world against, really seriously powerful, hugely resourced football clubs. It was always going to be difficult. I mean, there have been a couple of times, if I take this season, there have been a couple of times this season where I felt we're not going to survive and we will be, cut adrift. And at the bottom, like Norwich were last year, where we'd be just complete doormat for everybody. And I thought we'd be adrift and probably gone by the end of March. Well, we're not playing great. It has been a struggle, as it always was going to be. Certainly to me, I thought our relegation battle, lads, started at 6:30 on Sunday, May the 29th last year, when we just beaten Huddersfield to get up. We were the first into a relegation dogfight. So I never had any grandiose versions of what Nottingham Forest were going to do. Some people were saying, and it's great that they had their views, and long may it continue. Me personally, just within me, I thought, give me 17th now. And okay, at the moment we're 10 without a win, but you know what, lads, we're only one place off that sacred 17th. And if we finish 17th in our way, I think that would be an incredible achievement, given the attrition and overhaul of the squad in terms of having to rebuild and bring new people in, and we've had injuries and all that, and just facing the sheer quality of opposition that we're facing now on a weekly basis. For us to get 17th, given where we came from, I think would be, well, I would be like open top bus around my little village here. Do you know what I mean? So I think it is incredibly difficult. There've been lots of daunting tasks. Obviously, tomorrow is incredibly daunting. That stadium, that team, those players, that atmosphere in Anfield is going to be very testing. But I'd rather be going to Anfield tomorrow than to certain
road. Yeah.
Do you know, JJ? It's funny actually, mate. You everybody picks on Kenilworth Road and Luton in the Championship, but I hesitate to mention them because they could be in the Premier League next year, and that would round off an incredible Luton Town story. It's only 8 years since they were in non-league, so they could be in the Premier League.
It's amazing because when they were in non-league, like a lot of people know, I used to actually play for them. I was in the academy at the time. Mate? Yeah, brilliant. So for me, it's like I've always got a soft spot, and I always look at the Hatters. I just watch what they're doing from afar now, because at the time,
are you friends with Pelly and Rudder Panzo then? Do you know, because he's gone all the way through with that team?
Yeah, he has. He's younger than myself, but yeah, he's been with the team throughout the whole thing. So yeah. It's been really good. Would you then say, Dave, that you've actually, this progress has actually stifled your time in the Premier League because you haven't been able to kind of develop and build a solid foundation for when you coming into the Premier League and then essentially establishing yourself, which is obviously probably one of the goals of Nottingham Forest, establishing yourself as one of the main core Premier League mid-table sides.
Yeah. I think,
etc.
I think, JJ, your question's a brilliant one, mate, and I think it is the kernel of the argument about us, if you like. It's that central pick. I mean, I kind of thought, we went up too quickly, but then we waited 23 years. So that view of mine is utterly out the window. You wait 23 years or whatever, then it isn't too soon to go up. Where I do think, and this is what you just alluded to perfectly, is that it's this, in a way, with hindsight, and I look at Brentford in particular. Brentford had 3 or 4 years of getting to playoffs. They kind of got beaten in the playoff final. They got Thomas Frank in. They built up a body of work over 3 or 4 seasons that then, when it came to it, they were ready then to come up. And I think when they came up, Brentford, Villa to a lesser extent, because Villa only had, I think, a couple of seasons in the Championship, but Villa were playoffs on both occasions, losing a final to Derby and then, losing a final to Fulham, beating Derby in another. But I think with Brentford, they were able to kind of incrementally build a squad that was then going to be okay to stay in. And so what Brentford did when they came up, they didn't have to kind of throw a load of people together and hope it stuck as a team. Now, we, unfortunately, because of the situation that we were in for a while, had to do that. Now, certain media outlets have said, Forest are just signing anybody because they think they're better than they are, or they're being vain, or all this and that. with all due respect to those people, that's a nonsense narrative. The issue is, if I look at the 11 that started at Wembley on May the 29th, that incredible day, an incredible day for Nottingham Forest, and especially all the young kids who I remember European Cups. I remember knocking Liverpool out in Europe. I remember the Championship winning side, League Cups, and that good side of the 80s that pushed the great Liverpool side of the 80s, a long way. I remember all that. But for the kids, the young uns, they had a day that they'll remember forever, and it's really nice for them. So, but that team that played at Wembley, lads, it cost a total of £6 million. So of the 11 that were on the field, I think the only people who a fee was paid for were Brice Samba in goal. He's now gone. He's at Rennes, I think, or Lyon or somebody like that. He's gone back to France. Scott McKenna, who we bought from Aberdeen, I think, for £3 million. Solid customer, good lad. And Sam Surridge, who we bought from Stoke, I think that was £2 million. But the rest were the likes of Worrell, Yatesy, people who'd come in through the academy, people like that. And then the others were loans. We had 5 loans. So our 5 loans were Keenan Davies, James Garner, Philip Zinkernagel, Zinkernagel, Davies, Garner. There were a couple of others who escaped me at the moment. So, but the key thing is that those 5 who were so vital, that Jed Spence was the one. Jed Spence was there. It was absolutely amazing last season, given that Neil Warnock at Middlesbrough at the time didn't seem to want him. But the issue was that those 5 were never our players. And so at the end of the season, those guys, off the back of a good season with Nottingham Forest, having got promotion, we're going to go back to their clubs, and either their clubs are going to say, right, we want you, or we think we can sell you. So Forest were forced into this kind of like, we've got to get people in. And if you remember, and the other thing is that compared to like Bournemouth and Fulham knew from a long way out that they were going to go up because they were romping through the Championship. So, and they had I think they had a Prem ready side at an early stage. Bournemouth in the January window of last year bought a lot of players who were going to make them Prem ready. Now Forest couldn't do that until the season was over, and we were the last team, I think, to finish. Actually, at Liverpool were the last team to finish because they played the Champions League the night, or no, it might be the day before we did. So we were the last to finish. So he then had the shortest period of time to prepare for the toughest task in world football, right? And then you have to throw all these players in, and given that unpromising starting point, if we can be 17th at 6:30 on the 28th of May as I wander out of Selhurst Park, I think that would be a fantastic achievement for us. So we've the way I look at it is like, last Sunday we played United. They were too good for us. Certainly their midfield were absolutely fantastic, which is weird when you see them so poor in Sevilla last night. But I was sat in the Trent End in my beloved City Ground last week, and I'm watching Keylor Navas in goal for Nottingham Forest, and that, like, this is a guy who's won Champions League, and it just shows you. It kind of goes back to my original point, how far we've come. But as you say, JJ, having come so far so soon, it's almost like now we're not only having to run to keep up, we're having to sprint to keep up, and it might prove, come another 7 games, that we weren't able to do it. I personally think that whatever happens, we'll be a better club for it, because the experience, even if it's a disappointing experience, you still learn lessons from it. You know what I mean? I think if we stay up, then Steve Cooper's bomb-proof, and I think then I'd like us to make that next move, like Villa did, like Brentford did, like Brighton have done so brilliantly. What a wonderful club Brighton and Albion are, right? Everybody loves Brighton, and fair play to them. Beautifully organised, an excellent owner. They play great football. What a credit to British football, English football, Brighton over Albion. And I'd like Forest, I'd like them, those 3, if you like, Fulham to a certain extent, to be the blueprint for what I want us to become. But if you look at Fulham, they had to they came up, they did what we did. They signed a hell of a lot of players, and actually they went down in a whimper. Now we're struggling to stay up, but I don't think we're as much of a whimper as they were. But then Fulham went down, came back up, went back down, and came back up. And it's only at the sort of the 3rd time of asking that Fulham have managed to find a level. So the thing is, lads, you see it on the TV. As a Championship club for so long, you watch Match of the Day and you watch Sky Sports, and you think the football's fantastic. but it's only when you see it up close in the flesh and in the round, just how talented, from a technical point of view, from a skill point of view, these teams are that you're facing. You know, so like tomorrow, I mean, I think I said it to you, JJ, on the show the other night. There was that moment at Ellen Road on Monday night where I literally my world fell through my backside, right, where, you know, they're already thumping Leeds, which actually helped us. But there was a bit where Jurgen he made a substitution, and he got Darwin, he got Bobby, he got Luis Diaz and Jimmy Milner to come on. And we're thinking, and I'm sitting there thinking, you know, in all logic, those 4 guys walk into Nottingham Forest's first 11, and they can't get into Liverpool side. So this is like where I'm coming from about tomorrow's match and the scale of what's in front of Forest. You know what I mean?
Of course. Ram, just quick one. On obviously Nottingham Forest's scattergun approach when it comes to transfers. Do you think that works in the long end? Obviously, Dave's mentioned Fulham, about how it didn't work with Fulham. We've seen other teams in the past, QPR, that have done the same and tried to chuck a load of money at it, and it's not worked out. Do you think there's a bit of a difference to how Nottingham Forest are doing it? And do you think there's any kind of can they reap any success from this? Because the likes of Felipe, Renan Lodi, Keylor Navas, if you stay up and you're able to keep those players, that's a really, really good line to go and start the next season with, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I think the real difference between the other clubs that you mentioned was that Forest, like what Dave said, Forest at the start of the season, most of the players that they had weren't there. They weren't there. They left, or they went back to their original clubs. To be honest, them being in the Premier League this season is a shock in a sense, because last season they were under Sabri Lamouchi, they were bottom, and they had no chance. No one even put them to be in the playoff places, let alone people were saying relegation battle. But then somehow they pulled it off, and it's their approach in that sort of sense was understandable. They already had such a thin squad. They needed to add so many more players. But the kind of players that they got was more like, it didn't make any sense. Like Jesse Lingard going to them when they already had Morgan Gibbs-White and Brennan Johnson, 2 very exciting young midfielders. Made no sense. I think the players that they should have got the likes of your Dean Hendersons and sort of bolster from the back rather than the front. Nico Williams was a decent player that they got. I still think in a back 3 he would work well for them, but they should have built on the back rather than the front, because I think the front they only needed a couple more players. The back was a big issue for them, and I think they went about it the wrong way.
I think, Rams, you're absolutely right. I think when the dust of Wembley had settled, and it did take a while for that to settle, because it was just such a, as you say, an unforeseen occurrence. Like, you know, when we were bottom of the Championship, I mean, I think anybody, there was a stat that, or a fact that no team who had been in our position at the time in the Championship had finished higher than, I think, 10th from where we were at a certain point in the season. No team had recovered to a greater extent than 10th in the league. We finished 4th. So we were like, our progress curve was just like vertical. It was incredible, really. I tell you what, lads, last season it just became like, we would be like going to matches and we'd be like looking at each other thinking, is this really happening? You know, and our lads were wonderful. They played above themselves, a lot of those guys. They gave everything to the cause. And I still think they're giving everything to the cause, but it's just a different level of quality. But when we got to signing players and wanting to kind of construct a squad to take on this, I think it started off as a relatively sensible policy. So Nico came in early, and I love Nico. Taiwo came in. Taiwo was the first one in. I think Dean Henderson was the second one in. Then Nico. And you kind of thought with those 3, Morgan was always a target because Steve had worked with Morgan at under-17 for England and at Swansea. And so, Morgan and Steve knew each other well. And I think Morgan is going to be a great player for us. It's just a learning curve for him, like it is for everybody. But then what happened, I felt that what started off as a shrewd, focused, well thought out recruitment strategy went off in different directions. And I think, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I have no in at the City Ground. I'm just a supporter. I don't have a connection inside the club who tells me things, and I would never be so conceited as to think I had. I'm just a supporter. I watch from basically peer over the fence and see what's going on. But I think maybe some people who shouldn't put their fingers in the pie put their fingers in the pie. And I think if I was being awful about it, I'd say some people who play a lot of FIFA but who've never kicked a football and who don't know the game were saying, right, let's go and buy this guy and that guy. I mean, there were certain influences in the club at the time who said, no, I want to sign who I want to sign, and I think Jesse Lingard possibly falls into that category. Now, when Jesse signed, I was really happy to have Jesse because I thought Jesse would be a great character around the club and around the dressing room, and he has been. From a social point of view, from the off the field point of view, Jesse's been fantastic. He's looked after new lads coming into the club, the likes of Danilo and Scarpa and Felipe, who've come from another culture and another background, and Jesse's been brilliant at that, looking after these guys, helping them to feel part of the club. He's been a brilliant cheerleader. But he was signed to do the business on that bit of green grass that Cloughie used to talk about. And he hasn't, unfortunately. He's shown in spells. He was brilliant in a League Cup tie when we beat Tottenham 2-0. He was absolutely superb. He was brilliant in a League Cup tie at Ewood Park when we thumped Blackburn. And then he gets injured against Manchester United in the Carabao semi-final, and he's not been able to get back in. And when he has played, he's looked a shadow of his former self, and it hasn't worked out. I mean, it's all hindsight. Any transfer, the Felipe signing. Now, at the time, I didn't know a great deal about Felipe, other than that he lamped Phil Foden last year in the Champions League when the Atletico were playing City. But I didn't know. But you see him play now and you think, whoa, we've got a cornerstone. We can build a good defence on there because that guy is solid, wins headers, wins tackles, uses the ball really well. He looks like, I said the other night, I think, I might have said it to you, JJ, that if you've been a defender for Atletico Madrid under Diego Simeone, you can defend.
Of course,
because that is a defensive academy of football, right? So I go back to that point. So some of the recruitment has been really, really good, but I just think Forest and particularly Steve have been sort of railroaded by other people saying, well, I want to sign him and I want to sign him. And I'm like, no, we've got to recruit. We had a chief executive last year called Dave Murphy, who we brought in from Barnsley, and he'd done great work at Barnsley the previous season because Barnsley got to the playoffs incredibly.
Of course, yeah.
And we brought him in, and everything seemed to be linear last year. Everything seemed to have a natural progression to it.
Of course, but obviously, but obviously, you now attaining that Premier League status. Kind of policies had to go and ramp up quickly because of the loss of the players. And you're probably thinking, if we can kind of retain our championship status because you're threatening relegation, the likes of Ghana, all of these players on loan, if you can secure them for the next season, that then kind of lays the foundations, which obviously, it's really interesting.
I think the issue, JJ, is and the question that a lot of our lot have asked is, how would the team that played in the Championship and was so good in the Championship, and if you remember, you lads, we played Liverpool in an FA Cup quarter-final, and Liverpool won, and they had that little extra level of quality, but we gave you a really good game in that match at the City Ground. We all came out thinking, blimey, we've kind of given Liverpool. In fact, Zinkernagel had a chance. Zinkernagel had a chance to put us in front just before Diego Jota scored.
Yes, I remember.
And we all kind of thought. So the question a lot of ours ask is, how would that team that we had last year go this year? Right, but my view is that that team from last year, okay, they could do it in they did it in the FA Cup. We beat Arsenal and we beat Leicester, and then you might have fared better because of the fact that the foundation might have actually been built for the players to actually just put that platform off, which is really interesting. But yeah, obviously, it's just that loans thing, Jerry. You know what I mean? We were hamstrung by the fact that they were loan players. If they'd been our players, I don't think there would have been such an upheaval of people in and out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
I got a question.
Yeah,
you talk about Forest in the last couple of years. Why don't you guys use your academy a lot more? because
Well,
the kind of
that's a really
players that
good
you
question.
brought- The kind of players that you
Yeah.
brought up: Cash, Yates, Mighton,
Yeah.
Johnson, Worrell.
Worrell.
It's all
Yeah.
good players. I don't understand why you don't put more emphasis on the youth.
That's a really good question, Rams, and I wish I could say yes. This is the reason why we haven't done it. I think. I mean, our academy actually is one of the best, I think, in the country. Although it attained grade A status a couple of years ago. And like as you say, the likes of those lads that have come through. I mean, Yatesy is a classic example. I mean, I think we miss Yatesy terribly. Yatesy's not going to be playing tomorrow, and we will miss him. He's not a finesse player, but he's what we call in the Midlands a muck and nettles. And he lets you know that you're on the field against Nottingham Forest because the lad lives it and breathes it, right? Because he's a local lad. So he's come through. Brennan has been with the club, I think, since the age of 8, and obviously his dad played for Forest. So there's a family connection, and these lads have come through. So I think I don't know why. I mean, it's just, again, it's all opinions about players, and I think, to be fair to the owner, when we were promoted, he said in Nottingham Market Square the day after, because they had there were 30,000 fans in the Market Square after we got promotion. Mr. Marinaki said, "I'm going to give Steve Cooper exactly what he wants, the tools to get the job done to be competitive in the Premier League." But I think maybe some of them were there already under our noses, but some of them just, unfortunately, proved not to be good enough. Cashy, we sold. Cashy was a bit lucky, really, because what happened with Cashy, we had a right back at the time called Tendai Dariqua, who is now at Wigan, I think. And he was playing really, really well. He got injured, and Forest had nobody to play right back. Now, Cashy was originally a right winger.
Oh, wow.
And I think, and I think at the time, Sabri said, look, they were looking around the dressing room like, well, we need somebody to play right back who can do it. And, I could just imagine being in the dressing room, Cashy going, well, I'll do it, Gaffer.
Yeah.
And we were all like, what's Cashy doing at right back?
He played as a centre mid, didn't he, when he was younger?
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah, that's right. He was a sort of he came from Reading. I think he was at Reading or something like that when he was younger, and he came to us. And I mean, really, he seemed like the sort of lad who was going to be a decent pro, but not at the level he's at now with Villa and playing for Poland.
International. Yeah.
It's incredible, right? And I mean, and we made 16 million off that deal. He conducted himself beautifully, with so much respect for Nottingham Forest when he went to Aston Villa, so that when he comes back now, he gets a terrific reception. So Cashy's an example of that, and I think our academy is really, really good. But I think it comes back to the stark gulf in quality between the Premier League and the Championship. And maybe so many years of Championship football we've had to kind of change the thinking.
And rewire the mold of the club.
We've had to evolve, lads, at the speed of the evolution has had to go at the speed of a revolution, and it's really difficult to keep up. I mean, it's like the lad you met, Brennan. I think Brennan has taken to it, not like a duck to water, because it took Brennan a while to become acclimatized. And remember, he was on loan at Lincoln City 2 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
It's a big rise.
So he's had to acclimatise. Joe Worrell has found it very difficult, but Joe being Joe, he's as honest as the day's long and he battles his heart out. Mr. Nottingham Forest. Yatesy, I think he's probably the one who's taken to it the best. But obviously the way Ryan plays, he's always going to pick up injuries. He's had some illness problems and whatever, which can't be helped. So, those lads have come through. The others coming through, there's a lot of ours are on loan at the moment. So it's just where we are at the moment. But I think I personally would like to see us make more use of that academy, to answer your question, Rams. And we've got an amazing guy, a Nottingham Forest legend who certainly within the Nottingham Forest fan base and the population. We've got a guy called Gary Brazil who runs our academy, and Gary's just been wonderful for our club at producing, really, really good players. And there's talk that he may be on the move. I don't want Gary to go, and the Forest fans don't want Gary to go, because you'll have guys at Liverpool, working behind the scenes doing fantastic stuff. Other supporters of other clubs don't see these guys. You think, that guy's crucial to our club, right? And Gary Brazil is one of those guys at Nottingham
Forest. Like us with Steve Highway.
Exactly. Steve Highway.
Steve Highway. I love Steve Highway. I remember as a kid, right? So we're going back a long way now. I remember Steve playing for Liverpool. My dad went to the 1971 FA Cup final when Arsenal beat Liverpool to win the double. And Steve put Liverpool in front scoring, I think, at Bob Wilson's near post. And what a good player Steve Highway was. And I always used to love Steve Highway because he was one of those educated, intelligent footballers because he was like degree educated. And I know I don't know, is he still in the Liverpool backroom staff?
Not anymore.
But he must have done great work, Steve, over the years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he's the guy that founded Gerard Owen.
Of course, but look,
there you go,
Ram, and another person that obviously is big behind, obviously in the background, is obviously Michael Edwards that stepped down. We obviously the head of Liverpool's purchasing, the puppet master behind the scenes, the one that's got Mane, Salah, all of these players. Obviously, he's left, and we've seen Liverpool completely capitulate. Romz, we've spoken about multiple times, but now looking at the game, Liverpool, unbeaten at Anfield this season, if I'm correct, or have we lost one game, Ram?
We lost to Leeds.
That's it. We lost to Leeds one game,
and you've dealt with that this week, haven't you?
Exactly, and we sorted that out this week. So, looking at Forest, Ram. I mean, we've been, I don't want to say imperious at home, but look, we've been quite solid at home. Forest's last couple of results, it took obviously the 2-0 loss to Man United, lost 2-0 to Aston Villa, lost 2-1 to Nottingham Forest, to Leeds, and obviously a draw sandwiched in between, a draw against Wolves sandwiched in between a 2-1 loss to Newcastle. So Ram, is this just a walk in the park now? Liverpool have finally hit form, and according to Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool have clicked, and it's just it's business as usual at Anfield.
It should be, given the circumstances of both clubs. I think we've had this conversation about Liverpool and this change of system. That short term, it would be very good for us. Nottingham Forest not in a good run of form, and they're coming to Anfield. It's just like, logically, it should be a walk in the park. Yeah. But Liverpool don't deal with logic. They'll deal with whatever they want to do, and it's frustrating. And that's been the story of our season, the whole season. So logically, we should be winning this game minimum 2-0. But it will be, I think, will make it a lot more difficult than it is, in my opinion.
With the pattern of this season as well, you wouldn't be surprised if Nottingham Forest pull a surprise. Do you know what I mean? A surprise win, and then we're just back to square one at Liverpool, talking about the same things that we have done all season. So, Dave, when you're looking at this Liverpool squad, I know obviously you mentioned a lot of names, and looking at the Leeds game when we brought on Luis Diaz, Milner, who else came on?
Nunes and Firmino.
And Nunes. You're thinking, oh no, that squad that is on the bench. I mean, you've got a lot of players, but maybe not to that quality, of course, if we're being honest.
True.
What player are you looking at from our Liverpool team, from an outsider's perspective, and thinking, oh, he's going to be a problem? Like, if he plays, or look, we don't want to go and face someone like that, because I mean, Liverpool have got an array of talent, it seems, but not really clicking. I mean, Salah's still getting his goals and assists, but not to the level that he did last season. Nunes still adapting. We've got Gakpo that's been a bit hot and cold, in my opinion. Jota, who didn't score for a year up until the other day, and he got himself a brace. So it's not like Liverpool's firing on all fronts. Who do you look at in that squad and think, oh, that's going to be the main issue to kind of?
The one I think of is Diogo Jota. I think he's a fantastic player, Diogo Jota. I think because of the glittering array of attacking talent that Liverpool have got, I think Diogo occasionally goes under the radar. I think he's a fantastic player. I obviously he scored the winner at our place in the cup last year.
Of course, yeah.
And I think at the time Liverpool came to us back in October, I think it was. I have a feeling he wasn't in the side. I can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he wasn't in.
But I really rate him. I think he's proved to be one of Liverpool's most shrewdest signings of recent times. But I mean, the thing is, you talk about Diogo, and then you've got Cody Gakpo, who's played in a World Cup with distinction. Mo's Mo. I mean, Mo's just unbelievable, really. Although, the only thing I would say about Mo, And this goes for a number of players who've come to the City Ground this year, you know, big names, if you like, you know, world stars. You think, wow, I'm going to see this guy and be able to say I've seen him. When Mo came to the City Ground, he was bitterly disappointing. He didn't have a kick. You know, I mean, I made the joke after that game. I saw the Liverpool coach leave the City Ground after the game, and somebody goes, "Oh, look, there's the Liverpool coach." And I said, "Yeah, they're going to spend 4 hours driving around Nottingham trying to find out where Mo Salah is because he's gone missing." Mo started okay, but what happened was early on in that game, Cheku Kouyaté, who I thought had a great game for us that day, again in a bustling sense, not a finesse sense, he hit Mo quite hard. I don't know if Mo just went out of the game, and like Virgil could have scored 3 or 4 in that game, and he didn't play very well. In fact, I go back to that game at the City Ground, and I thought Liverpool's best player that day, and it didn't really say a lot for Liverpool, and they were poor. They were of all the big teams I've seen this year, Liverpool were the biggest disappointment that day. And I thought James Milner was your best player because everything seemed to want to go down the right, get Jimmy in. You know, he had Jimmy with his Zimmer frame, and he was still playing really well, Milner, you know. But I mean, tomorrow, it's a wholly different environment for a start because it's going to be Anfield. They're all going to be really up for it after what happened on Monday night. Although, admittedly, there's this idea with Liverpool that, you know, you beat Bournemouth 9-0 and then you go to the next game and it's not so great. You beat United. I mean, that was astonishing. I remember that day when you beat United. I'd come back from the City Ground because we played Everton earlier in the day and we'd drawn 2-2 with Everton. And I get to my old man's for a cup of tea and a chocolate digestive, and I walk in and Liverpool are beating United 5-0. What's going on here? You know what I mean? And then having beaten United 7-0 and apparently like all the problems are behind us, they go to Bournemouth the next week and they get beat 1-0. So, you know, as Romz says, that if you're a betting man tomorrow and you don't support any football club, Liverpool at home to Nottingham Forest tomorrow is the home banker of the day. I heard today that it's in a 2-horse race for one team to be 16-1 tells you everything you need to know. And the bookies have a steely focus on what they think is going to happen, and nobody in the betting fraternity gives Nottingham Forest a prayer tomorrow. And based on the facts of our away form, which is truly atrocious, and our inability to keep the ball, which I think is our biggest Achilles heel. Everybody, and I mean everybody, and this includes Southampton and Leicester and Everton and Leeds, and it's the 3 from the 5 to go down now, because I think Bournemouth, Wolves, Palace, West Ham are either safe or have enough to be safe. Everybody keeps the ball better than we do. Everybody seems to have more time to play than Forest. Everybody else seems more natural, passing the ball around, finding gaps, finding spaces. You know, I mean, the Starks, we went to City, we got beat 6-0 at City. City were unbelievable. You know what I mean? And it was like City were playing walking football. Forest were busting a gut, and yet City were like just dominating. And it's this inability. We haven't got a playmaker. We haven't got somebody to dictate the tempo of games. We haven't got a Fabinho. We haven't got a Thiago Alcantara. You know, somebody of that ilk to run a game. Somebody in our team who you can think, well, give that ball to that fella. He'll keep it for us, and he'll create something. He'll open something up. We haven't got anybody like that.
Yeah.
I mean, when our best midfielder of the season, if he'd been fit the whole season, would be Ryan Yates. But Ryan Yates is like sort of like the mad kid in the playground at school who's like bumping into everybody and just, hey, I'm here, you know what I mean? No finesse. Yeah. So it's blunt force with, and I'm doing Yates a disservice because I love Ryan. I absolutely adore the kid. You know, like I love all our lads. And where I am is that what they're having to do is the most incredibly difficult thing in world football to do. To learn as you go along this is the toughest football classroom in the world. And like tomorrow, they're going to be probably going to be more hard lessons. You know what I mean? But the tiny sliver of hope that I cling on to, and it is the tiniest thing, is that Liverpool, a little bit like Tottenham and Chelsea, have had a season where they're not quite sure how good or otherwise they are. And if you know, one thing this may come back to haunt me, and please use it against me if I'm wrong. You know, I watched Leeds the other night, and their defending was truly appalling. I watched our lads against Manchester United last week. And okay, United deserved to win, absolutely no doubt about that. irrespective of whether it should have been a penalty against Maguire or whatever, United were the better team and deserved to win. But our defending against United, I thought, was better than Leeds' defending against your lot. And I don't think, with Felipe in the middle and Navas in goal and Moussa Niakate and Scotty McKenna and Nico and Renan Lodi, that I thought last week our lads, 6 lads at the back, tried hard, got beat but tried hard. Our 5 further forward were deeply poor and didn't give us enough. And our problem is we have the fastest player in the league, but our midfield is so inferior. We cannot get the ball to our fastest player in the Premier League, Brennan Johnson. We can't use our weapon because we can't give him the service he needs. And so, I mean, and Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool tomorrow, Andy Robertson will know what to do with Brennan, I'm sure, because I think Andy Robertson's a wonderful footballer. Andy Robertson's one of my favourite non-Forest footballers, given that Queen's Park, Hull, and now, and I think he's a great player, Andy Robertson. You know what I mean? So he will deal with Brennan, and I mean, Fabinho was another one who was poor at the City ground, but Fabinho's still a quality player. If Fabinho rang Forest up and said, "Can I come and play for you at the City ground?" Forest would roll a red carpet out and say, "Come on, mate, come and get in." You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's incredibly difficult. I don't see us winning, and the crumb of comfort I cling to is that Liverpool aren't quite the Liverpool of the last 3 or 4 years. I think Liverpool have basically just run out of a little bit of impetus, a little bit of juice, having chased City for so long and banged their heads, apart from that one season where they were incredible. And Liverpool actually over the last 4 seasons have been incredible. It's just unfortunately on 3 occasions, I think, City have just been that fraction more incredible. And I just think Liverpool are almost psychologically tired having to deal with this stumbling block of City. So I think, and I think Liverpool are heading towards a transition where Jordan is obviously, not quite what he was. Fabinho, who's a wonderful player, isn't quite what he was. I tell you, I thought played well at Leeds. Actually, for you, I thought Curtis Jones had a decent game. And I've expected Curtis to push on and be, more of a player than he has been. So I thought he had a good game, but and I guess he might play tomorrow. But can't see us winning tomorrow. And the head, Liverpool 3-0.
But of course, the heart is telling you something else. The heart,
you know what I mean. So fingers crossed, lads. But it's going to be difficult.
Ram, quick one. Looking obviously Nottingham Forest. They obviously usually, as Dave alluded to, obviously playing 5 at the back. I assume it will obviously be Felipe, Niakate and McKenna at the back. Nico Williams and Renan Lodi making up the wing backs. Froylan Danilo in the midfield. Morgan Gibbs-White, Brennan Johnson, and obviously Taiwo Awoniyi up front. Now, Ram, as has been made aware, Trent has had a revolutionary role now in the last couple of games. He's now become
he's like John Stones at City.
Yeah, exactly. He's become the Kimmich of British football. And so how do you think? Where do you think that threat's going to come from Forest? Because obviously, usually our right hand side is always targeted. Down that side against United, it was Taiwo Awoniyi that was down obviously the left, well, more to the left. Obviously, in the 10 you had Morgan Gibbs right and then Brennan Johnson out on the right. Do you think there might be a tactical change from Nottingham Forest to go, you know what, we know they're quite vulnerable down that left-hand side. They're probably going to try to do this inverted kind of midfield role for Trent. Do we target that side a bit more? Do we maybe put Taiwo Awoniyi right up on Konate and see how he deals with that kind of just physical battle and kind of take him at the game that way? I don't know how you're looking at the game.
If I was a Liverpool fan and I saw Taiwo Awoniyi up against Konate, I wouldn't be concerned, because Awoniyi reminds me a lot like Heskey back in the day. Very physical, holds the ball up, and just he gives his all for the team and lets the other more skillful players get into the game. That kind of player. If he goes up against Konate, it's going to be a very, very, very long day for him, because Konate, people saw on Twitter people saying about Upamecano, Konate, and Mukiele, all the French centre backs for Leipzig. The best thing about Konate is that he knows how to use his physicality. and he's a very, very, very good defender.
Mm.
On the ball, he's a bit shaky, but overall as a defender, he is incredibly solid. So I think their best asset will be on the counter attack. Will be mainly Gibbs White and Brennan Johnson with their pace. It'll be a problem. But also their biggest asset is probably Johnson and Morgan Gibbs White pressing the centre backs. The only way I see us succeeding is when we do something stupid on the ball, because that's the last couple of games we've done that so many times. So I see Nottingham Forest being proficient in that sort of sense, but in terms of outplaying us, the midfield, everything like that, I don't see it. Especially at Anfield as well. Even though we've been poor, not many midfielders have gone up and sort of dominated us the way that they did against us in the City ground. So for me, on the counter, that'll be their biggest asset for me.
Yeah, true. I would agree with that. I think we're not going to go there and outplay Liverpool on their own patch. Absolutely not. And I think as well, what happened at the City ground will weigh on Klopp's mind. You owe this lot. They beat you at the City ground. That day at the City ground, our midfield was Freuler, Cheku Kouyaté, and Yatesy. And they just basically got in Liverpool's faces. And we were like, and again, we'd come off a really poor run up to that point. We'd got a point at Brighton the Wednesday or Tuesday prior to playing Liverpool on the Saturday dinner time, which kind of, we didn't deserve anything at Brighton, but we got a 0-0 draw, astonishing really. And I remember the first 15, 20 minutes of that match at the City ground, we were like, wow, our lads are right up for this and doing all the things that we wanted them to do. And it wasn't through outplaying Liverpool's midfield. It was just by being a bloody nuisance to them. Do you know what I mean? And I think that is the way it's going to have to be tomorrow. I mean, on the subject of Taiwo, what Taiwo needs a ball to run onto. He needs it in front of him. He's not going to hold up. He's not that sort of guy that, is going to bring other players. I mean, I said earlier in the season, when Taiwo was injured Taiwo got injured at Southampton. He scored the winner at Southampton, got injured, and then he was out for like 2 months. And we did miss him because at that time he was playing as a winger and he was a bloody nuisance. I remember he played Azpilicueta on New Year's Day at City Ground and he really gave him a tough time. We drew 1-1, should have beaten Chelsea actually. But then I said at the time I would have liked somebody like Glenn Murray in his prime at Brighton or Crystal Palace. Somebody who could score goals, lead the line, but not only that, he could hold the ball up and bring other people into play. Somebody like that would have been ideal for us. But, I love Taiwo. I love his attitude. He tries his damnedest. He's a good lad, popular around the club. But he's quite, he needs a certain type of... If you look at a lot of his goals he scored in the Bundesliga, a lot of the time it's a ball around the back of two defenders and him running through the middle and he's like one-on-one. He's not, and he's got this brilliant running style. He looks like he's got, the chariots in Roman times where they had like a sword on the wheel. Yeah. It seems like Taiwo's legs come out like that. I mean, I think he's fabulous. I mean, he's an extremely bright lad, educated, and he gives his damnedest, and he's lovely as a person, but he's awkward and gangly. And you sometimes think, Taiwo, I wish he'd be a bit nastier and a bit more awkward. I just think, I mean, whichever way you look at it, if you are going back to that logic that Romz mentioned, Jerry, then it is the banker of the day. But it's just that tiny thing about Liverpool. I think if this was at the City ground, then I'd be thinking we can. You never know because of what Bournemouth did.
Of course.
But I just think the Anfield factor. I mean, I watched it before. While I was having my dinner, lads, before I came on to talk to you two, which has been an absolute pleasure, by the way. I was listening to a Forest podcast, probably our most senior podcast, if you like, with proper journalists and media people, and none of them on there. They've all written it. They've all written tomorrow off. No chance. And I think the vast majority of us think, I mean, our running is you tomorrow, Brighton at home Wednesday, Brentford away next Saturday. Then it's Southampton at home on a Monday, Chelsea at the Bridge, Arsenal at home, last home game of the season, and then Palace away. Now, the way I think the consensus of opinion amongst the Forest fan base is nothing tomorrow. Very unlikely against Brighton because they're so good. Brentford, they might be a little bit on the beach, possibly. So maybe something there. Stamford Bridge, no, because they've got too much quality, irrespective of who their buffoon of a manager is, right? You know, who great player, poor manager, right? And then, you know, I mean, Arsenal, by the time they come to us, you know, Arsenal might have been put in their place, if you like, by City, because obviously there's this game coming up on Wednesday when we play Brighton, so I won't see the City Arsenal game, so I'll be at the City ground. By the time they come to us, Arsenal's hopes and ambitions might have been dented for good by City, so Arsenal might be in a bit of a... And then Palace, I mean, given Palace's run-in is the easiest of any team in the division. They play all teams in the bottom half, Palace do, I think. They had a dreadful run which ended up with Patrick getting the sack. Now they're into an easier run, although there's no such thing in the Premier League. And I think Palace, by the time we go there, old Father Time, you know, Rip Van Winkle will have got them safe to the point where maybe Palace are on the beach when we go to Selhurst Park. So, you know, our running is incredibly difficult, but then again, really, so is everybody else's. Do you know what I mean? So, but tomorrow, I think if I come away from Anfield tomorrow and we've got something, I think a draw tomorrow, some kind of scraped draw tomorrow at Anfield would feel like one of our greatest results in history. And I go back. There've been times in the past. I remember Blackpool winning at Anfield. I remember West Brom winning at Anfield. I remember, I think back in the day, Wolves, when they were struggling, they went there and got a win. You know, teams who've been struggling, every now and then at Anfield, you get a result. Fulham a few years ago won it, and in fact there was a run, but where Liverpool, I think it might have been the year after they won the title, Liverpool lost 6 home games on the bounce, starting with Burnley, including Fulham and some others. So, but I just think, no, it doesn't happen tomorrow. I've written it off.
Cool. Before we get into score predictions, we're going to get into some of the comments that we got from everyone. Guys, make sure we're still smashing the like as well, and commenting, leaving some questions for Dave and Ram. We got Mo Khalif, big up to yourself, saying the number of clubs fighting relegation is wild, weird. No wonder why Arsenal and United are 1 and 3 in terms of their position. Yeah, maybe so. Mo Khalif then going on to say Joseph Matoma Gomez gets an excellent Maguire / Upamecano performance away at Forest. That was poor. We have RJ saying, Dave, hope Forest stay up, one of the OG teams from way back.
Thanks, mate.
Facts. We got Honesty saying,
I love that.
Honesty is not taking any prisoners at all. We have Tom.
Good old Hortense.
Tom.
Great bloke, Tom.
Fantastic. Also going
big
on
up,
to say
Tom.
Alan Johnson is some love at Liverpool. Then saying Renan Lodi as well, being their player of the season, in my opinion. Yeah. Who would you say? That's actually quite an interesting question. Who would you say has been the player of the season for Nottingham Forest?
It'd have to be Brendan Johnson, I think, because again, his own personal journey, lads, is 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, on loan at Lincoln City, a kid of like 18, 19 in League One, and they got to the playoffs with them. He came back to Forest, and our previous managerial regime deemed him not to be good enough for the Championship, and he was like a bit part player. Steve came in, obviously spoke to him. Brendan obviously spoke to his dad, because his dad, David, played for Forest with a lot of distinction. Great guy, David. And he just took off. I mean, he basically took the Premier League the Championship by storm. I think he scored 19. He had 11 or 12 assists. His goal involvement quota was fantastic. He was voted the Championship's Young Player of the Year. Then you think, right, do it again now in the Premier League. And, he struggled for a while, personally, while the team struggled. I think the team played far too open to start with. I think the team tried to play the way they had in the Championship in the Premier League, and they were far too open. They were almost too gung ho, and I think that's been Forest's problem since then. Oh, do we stick or do we twist? What do we do? Do you know what I mean? Very difficult against the quality of opposition. But what's happened with Brennan? Brennan, I think, I've been on a number of shows with fantastic supporters of other clubs, and I think if you were to ask any of them, which one did you? We did it on 12th Man a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, where which player from the other clubs did you have, and everybody chose Brennan from Forest. I think Felipe might be getting. I think had Felipe been here the whole season, if he'd come in July and August, I think Felipe would have gone close. But I think it has to be Brennan. I mean, and the thing about Brennan is, right, he's gone. You know, he's gone to a World Cup at the age of 21. He's now playing in the Premier League. He's still a boy. His progression is fantastic, and I do think that if we do go, somebody will come and offer him, you know, a chance at a big club. Now, the only thing that I would want, if Brennan would go to a big club, you know, maybe Liverpool, maybe Tottenham, maybe Chelsea, maybe, I don't know, one of these clubs. I'd like Brennan to go there and not be a bit part player sat on the bench. Jed Spence did it. Jed Spence went to Tottenham, and the poor lad was treated abysmally by Conte, where Conte basically said to the media, oh, he's the club signing. Oh, thanks very much. You obviously don't want me to play for you. So the poor lad was left in this, you know, Antonio Conte's duty is to every single member of that squad, not the ones he fancies and the ones he doesn't. He has to treat them all the same. And I thought he treated Jed Spence abysmally. But Jed, in a way, he could have come to Forest. If he'd stayed at Forest, he'd been starting every week. Yeah. But he went to Tottenham. He went to Tottenham for family reasons because he's from that part of the world. Totally forgivable and understandable. But I'd like Brennan, if Brennan is going to go somewhere, for Brennan to be a regular in that team. Do you know what I mean? I'd hate for us to be looking on at Brennan somewhere else and him like coming off
just disappearing into the
you know, I don't want Brennan to go like Dele Alli has become, for example.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It just disappeared off the scale. So because I really care about that. I feel like with a lot of these, like, because I'm a lot older, I feel like all these lads who play for Forest are like my nephews, and I just want the best for them. They're and whatever, whether they're good enough to stay up or not, I think they're decent human beings. I don't see anybody downing tools. There are people who get frustrated, but I don't see anybody not playing for Steve Cooper. I don't think the dressing room's been lost. They'll come tomorrow. They'll try their damnedest. But the trouble is with this level of football, trying your damnedest only takes you so far. You have to have a level of quality to get results. And I just don't think at the moment we're at that level. If we can be 17th come May the 28th at 6:30 on that Sunday, as I'm getting on a coach from Selhurst Park, that would be absolutely out of this world. It'd almost, for me personally, it would almost top, not quite, but it'd almost top winning at Wembley. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can imagine. Jamal saying Nottingham Forest have a 3 times Champions League winner in their squad.
Yeah,
in their first season back.
Yeah, absolutely, Jamal. Yeah,
this season, as we spoke about as well. We have Anfield Road End saying Collymore, Stone, Wone, Pierce, Roy. Was when I first started watching footy. Was a shame Forest got relegated not long after. Yes, it was. Mo Khalif saying Klopp doesn't know what to do with Darwin. He's then going on to say this game is for Nunes down the middle, but Klopp likes Gakpo. What's up? Forest at Anfield will give Klopp that. Forest at Anfield. Will Klopp have the deja vu after a big win by getting outclassed by a relegation manager? That's what obviously Dave's been hoping for. Guys, that's going to be the score predictions. Please get your score predictions in, and we're going to go and read them off at the end. I'm going to start this one with Ram. Score prediction for the game, man.
I think it will be a 2-0 win. All I want is a win and a clean sheet. That's all I want. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, whatever. It has to have a scoreline of something to 0. That's the only thing I'm rooting for. So I think it might be a 2-0 for Liverpool, in my opinion.
Cool. Dave.
2-0. I think it's going to be Liverpool 3, Nottingham Forest 0.
I thought you were going to say 3-0 Forest. I thought the heart.
No, mate, no. I mean, the thing is, mate, I could come on here and go, oh, we're Nottingham Forest. I love Nottingham Forest. So because I love Nottingham Forest, we're going to hammer Liverpool. Get real. What I will not do is this we're Nottingham Forest and we're better than everybody else just because me and my brother, right? We have this joke like, will Nottingham Forest win? Yes, just because I like them. Do me a favour. It's going to be Liverpool 3, Nottingham Forest 0, because look at the two squads, look at the environment, the venue that the game's going to be played in, look at where Liverpool are at the moment, having beaten Leeds. Look at our away record; it's dreadful. Look at our ball retention. Sherlock Holmes would look at all the facts and say Liverpool 3, Nottingham Forest 0, with the proviso that I hope I'm bloody wrong. You know what I mean? I mean, if nothing else, Cloughie's ghost is going to be there tomorrow, and he might just start haunting various parts of Anfield. Hey, young man. So he might just be there, but I can't see it happening. And actually, I'm going to keep saying I can't see it happening because often, lads, if you see me on shows before predicting, I am usually 100% wrong, but I think I'm going to be right this time. 3-0 to Liverpool, mate.
Cool. I'm going to go 3 goals for Liverpool also, but I think Liverpool concede. I know Forest.
Concede 4, JJ.
Yeah, I know Forest. I think they've only scored 5 goals away from home this season. If I'm correct. So it's been really poor. But knowing Liverpool, we always go and we always like to make things difficult. And Bournemouth. I think last time we faced Forest, I don't think they had won in 4 games, and you beat us.
Yeah,
we had 4 losses on the bounce. The same thing happened with Leeds. Leeds had lost 5 games in a row, and they beat us at Anfield. Yeah. I just feel we may have turned the corner, and I hope so. I think my prediction last week was pretty spot on. I said 3-1. They ended up being 6-1. But
JJ, Rams, do you lads almost feel? Sorry to butt in. Do you lads almost feel that a lot of this season, Liverpool have almost been playing themselves as if they are their own biggest nemesis? It's almost like, in a way, tomorrow, Forest are kind of incidental to the identity battle that Liverpool have got going on amongst themselves. It always seems to me. It's like if Liverpool are the Liverpool that they want to be, then they win comfortably. But if Liverpool aren't the best version of themselves, it seems to me there are 3 teams in this league, Tottenham, Chelsea, and Liverpool, who at various stages of this season have been incredibly unfathomable. What's the real Tottenham Hotspur? What's the real Chelsea? Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool. You could condense Liverpool's season into one game. That game against Real Madrid, 2-0 up in no time. Wow, this is fantastic. 5-2 by the end of it, and it's like, and I'm looking on thinking. I wanted Liverpool to thump Real Madrid. I can't abide Real Madrid, right? I want City to beat them. I don't want Real Madrid to win it. But that night, you look and think, God, Liverpool are 2-0 up. Wow, this is amazing. Playing brilliant football. The next time I looked, I think I went and had a cup of tea or something. The next time I come back, 5-2 to Real Madrid. And I think Liverpool aren't quite sure this year. A bit like Chelsea, a bit like Tottenham. Those 3 are the enigmas of this division to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Liverpool, when you look at it, I think me and Ram, G, everyone that's been on the show, on the channel, and our contributors, we always just say, we actually just don't know what we are. We want to play a pressing game, but we've brought players in that don't necessarily fit that type of profile of player. So the likes of Harvey Elliott in midfield, he's not a like-for-like replacement of a Henderson when he's played on the right side of midfield. Thiago isn't a like-for-like with a Gini Wijnaldum, or when we've played. Sometimes we played Thiago in this 6, and Fabinho's been out. He's been not been a like-for-like replacement, and we just don't know what we are. We don't know what we are as a team. I think some of the players don't want to go and play or adopt the system that they've done for so long because maybe they just can't, or maybe at a certain fact of down tools we're not really going to know. But
have there been right? Another question for you, and we'll wrap up. Even though it's your show, it's not me. Sorry.
No,
have there been? I'm interested to ask you two. Have there been any doubts expressed about Klopp?
Ram, do you want to express this one?
No, you're the best person for that.
If I go on, I won't stop.
You're talking to the first guy that started the proper doubts. Like, we all had our doubts about Klopp. I think even myself, people that have been Klopp out and they've been Klopp in. I've been a Klopp in guy.
Right.
But I've said this at the start. I've said this during the season. you can't play the way you're playing with the players that you've got, and the top managers always find a way of making sure that they can get the best out of their players. And Klopp has not done that this season. He's failed to do it. That's why we're in the situation that we are. We still have a squad that's good enough to get in the top 4, but the reason why we're 8 is because of Jurgen Klopp.
Right.
And so I still believe Klopp can turn this around to an extent, but I'm still holding judgment until probably September this year. If he doesn't, if there's no changes, then serious conversations got to be had about this manager.
Yeah.
But I'll let JJ have his own thoughts.
He's a canny lad, that Romz.
Yeah, we've got obviously Romz saying doubts. Romz saying he needs to walk the plank. So yeah, there are a few. Look, I want to caveat this before anyone kind of clips me up, and I always have to do this, and I don't want Dave to get the wrong impression. I don't think Klopp's a bad manager. I don't think if Klopp leaves Liverpool, he won't potentially be successful, whether that be for Bayern Munich, who are touted to go and get him, which is obviously probably at the moment, or the German national team, whoever it might be. What it is for me is that I look at it from the player's perspective. If you're hearing the same voice over and over and over again, with the same message over and over and over again, playing in the same competitions over and over again, with the same competition over and over again that are beating you 9 times out of 10, because it's just the way it is. How much longer can you keep adopting that philosophy and hearing that voice before it comes to a point where the shelf life just expires and you have to go and change it? I look at Tottenham, and I know Tottenham have been in a kind of a worse place since. We've had 3 managers now since Pochettino. But it got to a point even with Pochettino, and Pochettino has been their best manager in the last decade, if not more. Where this is as much as he can do, and it's not going to go and become better than this. I think there's so many parallels with what's happened at Mainz, what's happened at Dortmund in terms of the shelf life there also. He's never, ever had to rebuild a team, so he deserves the chance to build a team because of what he's done. But the position that we're in now, for me, it's not an excuse. So when you look at it, a drop-off for Liverpool with the type of players you've got, the strength in depth that we've got, is 3rd, is 4th, not 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th. For totally me, understand. If this was any other team, if this was Chelsea in this situation, if this was United, if this was Manchester City, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid, do they go and keep this manager? I think a lot of it comes down to Liverpool fans, the board, and everyone being really scared of change because this is as good as it's ever been, especially in my lifetime. And there's that fear of it might not get better than this, but I don't like that mentality. So for me, I think there should be a transition because it's the same thing with Bill Shankly, Bob Paisley. Bill Shankly, amazing. When he left or when he walked away, everyone was shocked. Everyone was like, I can't believe this. They're walking around the streets of Liverpool and people couldn't believe it. People were in tears. Bob Paisley just took the club to another level. And I think
great man.
You can't have the mentality. I don't think you can have the mentality of, Klopp's the be-all and end-all. And if Klopp goes, then we're finished because a great example, Arteta doesn't become Arteta until he does what he's doing this season. If they win the Premier League, Arteta now becomes one of those managers that's broken that cycle of no winning for Arsenal. So that's kind of that.
Can I just say, I love so much. You 2 younger guys, you're really knowledgeable about Liverpool and football generally. And I'm just so pleased that you raised the names. We're on a Liverpool show, and you raised the names of Bill and Uncle Bob. What wonderful men they were. What great football men they were. What wonderful managers they were. I remember as a young lad hearing that Scottish brogue of Bill's coming out the TV, and he was like, I'm a Clough man. I'm Forest, you know what I mean? Clough. But Bill was a great, great manager, and he created, when he came in at Liverpool, they weren't really that big. They weren't the big thing that they are now. And then when he walked away, and Bill really walked away too soon, from what I can see, because when dear old Bill walked from Anfield, he was lost a bit, and he would go to the Everton training ground and watch over the wall, and they were like, he shouldn't have gone. And you kind of think, who's the manager of Liverpool? Bob Paisley. Who's he? And he was such a quiet, old style guy, and he was a wonderful manager, Bob. Absolutely fantastic. Anybody following Bob was always going to find it difficult. You know what I mean? Kenny did it for a while. and then it just sort of tailed off a little bit. You know what I mean? But I mean, in a way, the way I look at Liverpool, I mean, at the start of the season, I thought the Championship was a 2-horse race, you and City. So that's where I come from, at being like surprised by how underachieving and at times underwhelming Liverpool have been. I've been really surprised. I mean, you look at the especially the array of attacking, and obviously it was this. Is it the Sadio Mane thing? Well, I did think it was that at the start, but I think it's a bit more deep seated than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just look at them and I think, you know, I've seen Harvey Elliott, and you think, yeah, he's a good lad, but he doesn't do it at sustained level. Same with Curtis, same with Bajcetic. These guys, you know, some good lads, and you know. So I just think, I mean, we've got the same, because Steve Cooper was bomb-proof for so long, and now there are people saying, well, you know, we haven't won, and the away form and all that. You know, I think where Steve's lucky, he got lucky at Leicester in October when we got beat 4-0 and we went bottom, and the 3,300 in the King Power that night, of which I was one, we sang him into a new contract. We let the ownership know that night, certainly the people in the King Power, we want Steve Cooper to be our manager. He got his contract 4 days later, and then we had a bit of a pickle, you know, but I kind of thought, oh, he's gone here. You know, and obviously now he's just had an endorsement from the ownership. But I think what's in Steve's favour is that there are only 7 games to go. And I think to make a change now is almost to kind of cause more upheaval than you even need when you've got 7 games to try and stay in this league, you know. So I think with Steve, what happens is that, you know, and there are a lot that want him gone, and that's, you know, that's absolutely fine for them to think that. You know, I have no problem with that. You know, the variety of opinions is what makes such a fantastic game, such a fantastic subject for conversation. I think if we go down, I keep Steve, like Norwich did with Daniel Farke. They kept Daniel Farke and they came back up. Norwich did. Yeah. But I keep Steve, and then if we look, say, come end of September, Forest are in the bottom half of the Championship. This is all theoretical. Then, I think we need to make a change now. I mean, that, you know, Marinakis is certainly with Olympiacos. He's notoriously trigger happy with managers. I mean, I think they're on their 4th manager at Olympiacos this year. But what he's done at the City ground, it's like he's listened to the people in the grounds. I mean, home and away, I've not seen a Cooper out banner yet. I've not heard a Cooper out song. Now, to give you an example of somewhere where it's different, West Ham won at Craven Cottage the other week, 1-0. All over the Putney end, Moyes out. Yeah. Now, we've not had that with Steve. So I think Steve, because Steve has done more in 18 months than anybody's done for 23 years, he's got a lot of credit in the bank. But I do think if we go down and we don't, and I think if we do go down, there will be a hangover for a while where we find it tricky in the Championship before we settle. And then the quality that we've gained from the Premier League helps us back to stability. But if we go, like say, we could go to the Championship and do a Burnley, like Vincent has done. Although I watched Burnley get promoted the other week, and I thought, congratulations on your soon-to-come relegation, because they're going to find it unbelievably difficult, Burnley, like they always have done, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think if we go down and it's end of September, early October, and Forest are like, I don't know, 12th, 13th, 14th in the Championship, now's the time for a change. But to bring a new guy in now, I personally think wouldn't be the right thing to do. And there isn't, I don't think there's a credible, available, realistic target at the moment. There isn't somebody going, there's that guy. I mean, when Steve was under pressure a few weeks ago, they were like touting the name of Patrick Vieira. Well, he lost 20. He went 24 without a win. You'd have to go and get an Allardyce or someone like that. Someone that can just, when you look at it, his credit in keeping teams up is really high. I'm not looking at it long term. Warnock or Hodgson would have been better, really. You know what I mean? But
Hodgson won as well.
There you go.
Going to get into some of the scores that you guys are chucking out. GTV, make sure we're heading over to GTV and subscribing, saying 2-1. We have Mohammed Khalif saying 2-1 Liverpool. Dahib Botan saying 3-0. We got Endman saying 7-0.
Easy.
Jesus.
Possible.
Romz saying 3-0. Nunes hat-trick. We have KLFC saying 5-0. Honestly, 4-0. And yeah, so it is looking.
Anybody in there, JJ, saying that Forest are going to get anything?
No, we have Dave on tour saying, look, if we win, Dave, you can walk back to Nottingham. So
all I'll say to my good friend, my dude of a brother there, is that if I'm walking back, he's walking back with me, because we're in the same car going up to Anfield tomorrow. So yeah. I know it's mad, and all the people making their score predictions are probably in the right ballpark. But I'm looking forward. I'm going to give it a go and enjoy the day, and then if it doesn't work off, then we just get ready for work out. We just get ready for Brighton on Wednesday night. I mean, the way I look at it, if we stay up, we go down. Doesn't make any difference. Just go to matches. My love of Nottingham Forest is so deep seated that. And I guess I'm at an age where I should be a little bit more mellow and wise about things at 59 and being philosophical about it. I mean, I'm sure if we go down, there'll be rantings and ravings and heads must be chopped off and retribution and revenge and all that.
Of course.
It's just people. A lot of people at the start of the season said, we're in the Premier League, we'll just take it as it comes. And I've kind of stuck that, but some of them I don't think have. What I won't say is, there's no way that Nottingham Forest are entitled to win in the Premier League. Get rid of the delusion. Get rid of the entitlement. We've won 6. We've beaten West Ham. We've beaten Liverpool. We've beaten Leeds. We've beaten Palace, Southampton. One of whose name escapes me at the moment. You have to work really hard for that. There's no. Leicester were the other one. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're not entitled to anything. This is the last league on earth where you can have any entitlement. So, I think if we go down, I'd like to think if we go down, what I would hope for is that all the lessons are learned, like Fulham learned their lessons, and we come back. Burnley learned their lesson. I thought Burnley wouldn't be back for ages, and here they are. They're back in the Premier League at the first time last year, which says a lot about Vincent Kompany. But 7 games to go. I thought we'd be a long way adrift and finished by now, but we're still in it. And I'll tell you something, lads, just to finish. The way I feel, I bet if you had a Leicester guy on, or a Southampton guy on, or a Toffee on, or a Leeds on, I don't think their views would be that much different from mine. And so it's not like the other 4 are superior to Forest. Well, if that's the case, why are Southampton and Leicester below us? Leeds have just come off shipping 11 goals at home in 2 games. Having thought beating us a few weeks ago, Leeds thought they're safe. And now Everton, we've never been relegated. Yeah, but you've spent 600 million and criminally wasted it.
Yeah.
You're building a new stadium, Everton, and you could be playing your first game in that new stadium against Ipswich Town or Plymouth Argyle or somebody like that. You know what I mean? So it's 3 from 5, I believe. But then again, if Leicester beat Wolves at the weekend, or like Palace go on a bad run against these, like Everton somehow beat Palace this week, then the 5 might become the 9 again. I mean, Bournemouth are playing West Ham. If West Ham go to Bournemouth, who I think are playing really well, and fair play to Gary O'Neill, West Ham go to Bournemouth and strike Bournemouth, and hang on a minute, then Bournemouth start getting itchy feet against them. I mean, in a way, it's the most incredible relegation battle I think this league has seen since its inception. So, it's we're still fighting, lads. That's what I'd agree.
I'd agree with that. So, look, Dave, thank you so much for coming on as well. Much appreciated. You've been
My
amazing.
Pleasure, lads.
A real insight into Nottingham Forest. Ram, as always, appreciate obviously you coming on. Let the people know what's coming up as well on the Ram stand, or are you going on the football terrace, whatever might be going on.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the terrace after the game, hopefully still alive. But yeah, it's gonna be a good one. Hopefully we do get the win, and I'll be on the terrace. I'll also be back here on JJ's channel if he does want me back, but it is what it is.
I'm sure he will, Rams. I'm sure he will.
So big up to everyone that's tuned in. Make sure, please, if you're watching this on a replay, that we're slapping the like and commenting, not in the live chat, but in the actual comments, letting us know your score predictions also. And let's just hope from a Liverpool perspective that we don't become Robin Hood again and take points from the rich and give them out to the poor, as we've done all season. So until next time, it's been the Jerry James Show, and we're out, people. Take it. Remixed it. Come on.
Sorry, yeah. Just before I go, I do apologise for that. Can I just say as well, I want to send big love to all the Liverpool supporters everywhere, because what we have to remember is that this is a Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest game played in April.
Of course, after Hillsborough as well.
And can I just say, on behalf of everybody from Nottingham Forest, lots of love and sympathy to everybody who supports Liverpool, because, you know, it's an April game against Forest, and that will resonate for a lot of people. So I'm sorry to cut off your ending there, but I just needed to say that, mate, on behalf of our
all good. I'm happy. I'm happy that happened. Please. Yeah, that's a massive statement as well. And of course, as well, actually reminded me as well. Ramadan Mubarak to any kind of, for people celebrating that today. Hopefully, you're having an amazing time.
Eid Mubarak, actually.
Yeah. Oh, Eid Mubarak, not Ramadan. I want to talk about Ramadan's finished. Eid Mubarak to everyone. Sorry, apologies. Yeah. But look, until next time, people. It's been the Jay James Show, and we're out, people. Take care.